That song, that prayer, is about the welcoming of the angels that join us at the beginning of Shabbat and accompany us through these 25 hours of peace and rest, and who depart at the end of Shabbat. We are always sad to see them go, but we are always expectant of their return. And we have arrived again at Shabbat, and I'd like for us to take a moment to separate ourselves from the week behind us. And I'd like each one of us to take a moment and reflect on something joyful, beautiful, and blessed that happened to you this week. May your heart be gladdened and warmed, and may the joy from this week be with you in this Shabbat and perhaps into the week to come. Now let us also take a moment to consider those things that did not go as we wished this week, those things that were the opposite of blessings, those things that cause us great sadness, those losses that we have experienced. Let us reflect on those. We have experienced a loss as a congregation, Achdut Shalom community today, this morning. We're saddened to share the news that our Rabbi Emeritus, Richard Safran, died this morning at his home in Tucson, Arizona. We join in grieving his family, including his son, Dan, and Dan's wife, Cindy, and their daughter, Samantha, and also for Rabbi Safran's daughter-in-law, Dawn, who was married to Jonathan of blessed memory, and to their children, Hannah and Ethan. And we are reminded, as life works, also of the loss of Rabbi Safran's beloved Lois, who died in 2013. Rabbi Safran served as the congregation's spiritual leader for an enormous amount of time, from 1969 to 1995. And when it was time for him to leave the congregation, when he retired, he was named Rabbi Emeritus. And we have just on the other side of the building our Rabbi Richard B. Safran Library, which we dedicated and named in 2000 in honor of his 70th birthday, and in appreciation for all the wonderful contributions he brought to his spiritual leadership of this community. We will have information in the coming days about Rabbi Safran's funeral arrangements, and we will share them with you. And Shabbat is a day of joy, but it is also something that always happens in the midst of everything else that happens in life. And it is our mitzvah. We are commanded to find the joy, even if it is quiet gratitude for the things that we have in our life and for our relationship with God and with each other. Even if we don't feel joyous, we are still commanded to do that. So on this Shabbat, may the joy that we have experienced in our life and in the memories of our community going back generations and in our gratitude for the spiritual leadership of Rabbi Safran, may that joy also help outweigh the grief, the difficulty, and the troubles that we also experienced this past week. So we enter Shabbat, perhaps not filled with joy, but filled with gratitude that we are here again at this day of peace. Let us turn now to page 120, and I would like to invite Marnie Loudon to the Bema to light candles. We'll see if I'm inviting anyone else. And Iris Powell. Awesome, Iris. Excellent. And you will find the candle blessing on page 120. And after the candles are lit, Hazimir will lead us in the blessing. Amen. Thank you, Iris. Thank you, Martin. Shabbat Shalom. Let us continue together on page 126. Let us read together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Kenye Hiratson, may it be so. Let us continue now on page 138 with the prayer that announces the arrival of our Shabbat joy. Lecha Dodi, we will sing verses 1, 2, and 9, and we will rise before the 9th verse and face the open door to send our Shabbat joy out into the world. Lecha Dodi, Likras Hara, Tenei Shabbat Lekada, Lecha Dodi, Likras Hara, Tenei Shabbat. Shamor v'tzachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, u'shemu tiferet v'li'tila, lecha dodi likrat kala, Let's please rise. Shabbat Shalom. Let us take a moment to greet one another, even if it's across the room, across a crowded room, as I think the song goes. And be sure also to turn towards Sam and greet those who are joining us online. We have several people who are from all over the place, who are in near and far, in warm places and cold places. We're all together here for Shabbat. Our service, you may be seated, and we will continue on page 141. Page 141. And let us read together at the bottom of the page the words of Psalm 93. Together. Adonai is sovereign. God is robed in grandeur. Adonai is robed. God is girded with strength. The world stands firm. It cannot be shaken. Your throne stands firm from of old. From eternity you have existed. The ocean sounds, Adonai. The ocean sounds its thunder. The ocean sounds its pounding above the thunder of the mighty waters. More majestic than the breakers of the sea is Adonai, majestic on high. Your decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your name, Adonai, for all times. And I want to offer tonight an interpretive prayer from the Siddur of a congregation in San Francisco called Sha'ar Zahav, Gates of Gold. It is they have a lovely Siddur. It is an LGBTQ affirming congregation. They were founded to be that, and they wrote their own Siddur because in that time there were no Siddurim that had prayers that were inclusive of everyone. And in that Siddur tonight, I found this prayer as a response to Psalm 93. It's called Creator. God acts within every moment and creates the world with each breath. God speaks from the center of the universe in the silence beyond all thought. Mightier than the crash of a thunderstorm, mightier than the roar of the sea, is God's voice silently speaking in the depths of the listening heart. Let us now turn to page 144 as we prepare to say Chatzi Kaddish. Let us please rise as we are able.
Yitkada Shemei Rava.
Amen.
Yamad Yivrak Yirotei V'yamlich Malchutei.
V'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayed kol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvrizman kari. Amen. Yeshme Rabba mevorach, E'alamu al
Arvit Chama Vietase, Vietadar, Vietale, Vietalal, Shemer Kurishal,
Brichu.
Lelamim Kobir Chata Beshirata,
Tushbechata v'nechemata v'amiran be'alma.
Veimeru.
We continue on the next page. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Let us continue on page 148, and let us say together the blessing for the arrival of evening. Together, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzavaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Amen. Let us turn the page and let us read together at the top of page 151 as we prepare for the blessing for Torah and for the covenant. Together, as you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. Let us continue on page 152. Please rise as you are able for Shema. Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malto Leolam. You may be seated. We continue on the next page. Ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meotecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitztavecha hayom alevavevcha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות הידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Let us turn to page 158. And in a moment, Hazimir will lead us in the prayer, the singing of Micha Mocha. But as we prepare for that moment of prayer, I'd like us to remember the moment where the Israelites set foot in the Red Sea, unsure of what was going to happen next. We know the story. The sea parted and people walked through and made it to the other side. But what must have it taken to have the faith, the confidence, the trust to take that first step to make a critical change in their life? When have we ever been in that moment to make a decision, to make a critical change in our life? We'll continue with Micha Mocha, page 158. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze Eliyahu ve'od maru Adonai Yimloch We continue on page 161 with the blessing for the protection, the shelter, the Sukkot Shalom, the shelter of peace that God gives us. Let us read together at the bottom of page 161. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We will continue on page 162, and in a moment, Hazimir will be leading us in the prayer of Ashamru, the prayer where we recognize the gift that Shabbat is for each of us. Ashamru. Thank you, Hazimir. Let us turn together in page 164. It's just the next page. And in a moment, we will rise to say the Amidah, the standing prayer, which is why we rise. And it is the central prayer of our prayers, of our liturgy. It is a prayer that brings together blessings for so many aspects of our existence and of our relationship with God and the world and each other. Before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment to find a blessing that will be your starting point for the Amidah. Just a moment to find the blessing. Please rise as you are able. We'll begin on page 164.
Hashem,
We continue praying silently. That setting of Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amcha Yisrael was commissioned by Hazimir and written by the composer Sargon. This is something that Hazimir brought into the world and is part of our history and is part of the music history of our people. Thank you, Hazimir. And now is a time when we customarily pray for peace, and we will. And I'm feeling the challenge of this moment of listing all of the reasons that we need to pray for peace. And for protection. And for a better world that comes closer, not just to the translation of shalom, peace, which is accurate, but also shalom, wholeness, coming back together. I'd like to offer this prayer by Heather Paul. God, you scattered the divine sparks so that we may find them in each other, but sometimes we forget to look. We are your glistening fragments, your shards, your stars. We stand here before you, ready to gather the sparks, ready to illuminate the world like one holy campfire. We may be scattered, shattered, but we will glow together, grow together. We will see each other's shine. And maybe then, dear God, we will finally be ready for peace. Baruch atah Adonai mevarech et kol ha'olam b'sholam. Blessed are you, God, who blesses the world with peace. And together we say, Amen. Let us turn now to page 371. We have come to the time when we pray for those who are in need of healing, of a body, of mind, or of spirit, and we pray for their caregivers. I need to find the right page. I apologize. Like I don't know the prayer, right? But here we go. Yeah, here we go. 371. I've been away a couple weeks. I am going to read the list of those for whom we are praying together for healing as a community. And then I will invite you to add the names of those for whom you are praying. And then Hazimir will lead us in the Misha Berach for healing. On this Shabbat, we pray for the healing of Fran Adler, Rena Black, Ruth Bloom, Andrew Bosell, Pircha Batbracha, Adrienne Breitman, Roberta Butts, Todd Crego, Doris Fogel, Todd Hughes, Kaylin Nagel, Tom O'Neill, Jackie Schreier, Debbie Sheree, and Gary Smythe. And to these names we add for all these names and the names in our heart, let us together offer a Misha Berach for healing. Shabbat Shalom. Tonight, on this Shabbat, this week, we read from Parashat Vayetze, which means he went out. And it is speaking of our ancestor Jacob. The Torah portion begins with a fantastic vision. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. He came upon a certain place and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. He had a dream. A stairway was set on the ground, and its top reached to the sky, and the messengers, the malachim, the angels of God, were going up and down on it. And standing beside him was Adonai, who said, I am Adonai, the God of your father Abraham's house and the God of Isaac's house. The ground on which you are lying, I will assign to you and to your offspring. Your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. All the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants. Remember, I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised to you. Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he said, surely Adonai is present in this place, and I did not know it. Shaken, he said, how awesome is this place? Early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. And he named that site Bethel, which means house of God. Quite a story, isn't it? Inspired by this biblical vision, Rabbi Rifat Sansino asks the question, where does God dwell? Clearly, Jacob had an idea, but Rabbi Sansino also had some ideas, and he wrote, in ancient times, biblical authors assumed that the world was flat, with Sheol, that is the underworld, below the earth where the dead live, and a dome on top of the earth, which was the abode of God. Later on, the rabbis spoke of God as Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father who is in heaven. And in fact, early Christians refer to 3 different levels of heaven. The first was set aside for us humans and animals. The second, above it, for the moon, stars, and other planets. And some even claim that this was the living quarters of Satan. And finally, on top of everything, it is where God resides. Now, we Jews are not quite so specific in our descriptions of the heavens or of the underworld, but it clearly communicates the idea that there is a strong tradition of segmenting creation and defining God's place within each of these segments. It was the early Greeks who first convincingly argued that the earth was in fact round. Some claimed it was Pythagoras who in 500 BCE did this. Others attribute this invention of a round earth to Eratosthenes, a Greek mathematician of the 3rd century BCE. And today, I think it's safe to assume that it is normative to say that the world is round. So, where does God live in our universe? There are some textual traditions that limit God's presence to heaven. In the book of Deuteronomy, we read, "Look down from your holy abode from heaven and bless your people Israel and the soil you have given us, a land flowing with milk and honey, as you swore to our ancestors." And from the book of Isaiah, "It is the one who is enthroned above the vault of the earth, so that its inhabitants seem as grasshoppers." You heard that right. God is positioned from Isaiah's point of view so far from us that us puny humans resemble grasshoppers. Other texts speak of God residing in heaven and on earth. In other words, everywhere. In Psalm 139, we read, "Where can I escape from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I descend to Sheol, you are there too." And from the book of Jeremiah, "If a man enters a hiding place, do I not see him, says Adonai? For I fill both heaven and earth." And once again, from the prophet Isaiah, he had a lot to say about this. "Thus said Adonai, the heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where could you build a house for me? What place could serve as my abode?" So considering these texts, Sansino comes to what may be a surprising conclusion. He writes, "As a religious naturalist, I do not conceive of God as a persona who lives in a particular place. I do not search for God or expect to encounter God only in the heavens or the earth below. I do not even understand why people talk about God's abode. For me, Rabbi Sansino, God represents the energy, the force which keeps the universe going. And as such, God is omnipresent in the universe. The more we know about nature and nature's mysteries, the more we discover about how God operates." For Sansino, it is not possible, nor especially necessary, to understand God as dwelling in a specific location. He sees God as all present within the fabric of the universe. Now, I must admit, I find it somewhat compelling to think about God's existence being integrated with all of creation, in essence, being everything. This makes God accessible to everyone, everywhere, in every moment. But the truth is, Judaism has never been big on dogma. There is no singular way to understand God's existence, except that the entirety of it is beyond human understanding. But this week, we encountered Jacob, who has a life-changing experience that convinces him that he was in the presence of the divine. Surely God is present in this place, and I did not know it. This is not an ambiguous, unequivocal statement. God is right there, not in heaven, not integrated with the fabric of the universe, but with Jacob. I believe that the range of Jewish articulations of God's presence is intended not to confuse us, nor is it to show an evolving understanding of the truth, as in this was true then, but this is true now. No, I don't believe that. I believe that Torah gives us multiple possibilities for relating to God. At times, we want to look up in the sky and say, Avinu Shabbat, our God in heaven. Or at other times, for example, when experiencing nature, out on a hike, sitting on a beach, walking through a national park, we want to look at a sunset or a waterfall or the majesty of an eagle flying overhead and feel God's presence in creation. or inspired by Jacob, our ancestor, we have moments when we need God's intimate presence right with us, right now. Each of these ways of experiencing God is possible if we are open to them. In these days when there is so much joy and so much sadness, so much love and so much hatred in the world, may we be willing and prepared to dwell in the Eternal's presence in thanksgiving and for comfort. Wherever it is that we find God, that will be our Bethel, our house of God. Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to invite Beth Zweig, member of our board of trustees and chair of the communications committee and co-chair of the 175th anniversary committee. And anything else while you're walking up? That's enough. That's quite a bit. She is going to share some announcements with us.
Thank you, Rabbi Meir. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone who's here with us tonight at the temple and online. We're very glad to have you with us. I'd like to highlight a few announcements. Please join us again tomorrow morning for Shabbat services at 9:45 a.m. We still have corned beef available. It is frozen and vacuum packed and available for $9.26 per pound. So get yours while you're here or stop in during the week. Thoughtful Thursdays group will meet here on Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the last bagging of the calendar year. And it's rotisserie chicken day, so it should be lots of fun. There's still time to sign up for Rabbi Meir's Beit Midrash class on December 13th on Zoom. That's part of all of our Hanukkah festivities that are coming up. So we're very excited about those. We will be joined by a very special guest on Zoom, Rabbi Sarah Berman from Central Synagogue in New York. And it is a Hanukkah object story. And will give us some new insights into the Hanukkah story. And that'll get you all warmed up for the Hanukkah party coming on the first night of Hanukkah, Sunday, December 18th at 4:30. So please make a reservation. The Romeos are hosting and there'll be latkes and Denny's got quite a menu lined up. So please RSVP to join us. And our Hanukkah service also will be on the sixth night of Hanukkah. You can tell I'm the communications person. I got them all in my head here. December 23rd, 7:30, we'll be here for Hanukkah and Shabbat. I'd like to thank our security officer, Julie, who's here tonight, Samara and Sam Katinsky for doing our Zoom this evening. Of course, Rabbi Meir, Dan and I were the ushers tonight, which we're happy to do. And thank you, Hazimir and John Planer, beautiful as always. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Beth.
Yep.
So just a couple of things. I really want to plug the December 13th learning opportunity about Hanukkah objects, a Hanukkah object story with Rabbi Sarah Berman. Rabbi Berman is a classmate of mine from rabbinical school. She ended up in the New York campus. I ended up in LA. I don't hold that against her. She doesn't hold it against me. And before she went to rabbinical school, she was a curator and her specialization was in, I want to say it right, but Near East antiquities. And so she actually has a lot to say and a lot to teach about the integration of Greek culture with Jewish culture. And that's kind of where Hanukkah came from. So I encourage you on December 13th at 7:30 to join us on Zoom. It's going to be a really, really interesting and enlightening time for learning. I also want to add my thanks to Hazimir because tonight, having you here has given me an opportunity to pray in a way that I don't always get. It's okay. I'm not complaining. It's the way it is for rabbis. But thank you for supporting our prayers so beautifully. I'm very, very grateful. All right, our service will continue on page 586. Page 586. Let us please rise as we are able for Aleinu. You may be seated. Let us turn together to page 598. 598. We have come to the time when we remember those who have died either recently or in this season in years past. And I will read in a moment our community's Kaddish list, the list of those who we are remembering together as a congregation Achdut V'Shalom community. And then I will pause and invite you to add the names of those who you are remembering. And of course, Rabbi Safran is in our hearts, and we are joining his family in mourning his loss. And in our tradition, we don't specifically say Kaddish for a person until after their burial. However, Rabbi Safran, of course, is in our thoughts and in our prayers tonight. On this Shabbat, we continue the period of Shana, the death within the past year of Jennifer Cohen, Dr. Jerry Lesson, Norman Philip Nachum Pincus, Ethel Schnitt, Macon Dale Traxler, Adria Sachs, Rivka Swedler, David Zemont, Steve Weitzman, Asher Lechlander Stoll, Adolf Breitman, Yelena Drozdova. And this Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of David Appel, David J. Ash, Rachel Behar, Larry Beelens, Herman Cohen, Rose Cohen, Beatrice Feldheim, Morris J. Foreman, Marion K. Grinsfelder, Esther F. Grossman, Jacqueline Hagendorf, Albert Herzog, William Hornstein, Eva J. Hubschman, Edith Gold Hutner, Oscar Allen Issei, Gladys Katz, Ethel Kruger, Abraham Levy, Samuel Liff, Charlotte Mayer, Stanley Mayer, Moses Mayer, Samuel S. Myers, Zelda Nowitzki, Charlotte Nowitzki, Etta Oppenheim, Ethel F. Pollock, Mildred Prady, Harold Prigozhin, Ruth Rosenthal, Esther Rothstein, Rosalind Rosine, Rebecca Ruderman, Nathan Salin, Bessie R. Schmitz, Fred Schneider, Abraham Schwartz, Martha Jane Schwartz, Claire Seelan, Emmanuel Siegel, Diane Sisman, Elizabeth H. Smulo, James Solomon, Vicky Sowers, Don Souls, Joseph Stiefel, Sam Stoller, Ron Subik, Frederick Reinhold Turco, Sidney Trevus, Maurice Waldman, Rose Warshauer, Joseph Waterman, Sarah Weinberg, Herbert Weinrob, Shep Weiswig, Bina Young, Joseph Zinn, Wilbur Zweig. And to these names we add for all these names and the names we carry in our heart, the names of those who perished in the Shoah, the names of those who have perished in the Ukraine and in all wars, and the names of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. Let us please rise now as a community in solidarity to recite Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'elma divra cherutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon uvyomachon uvchaye dekol beit Israel, bagala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulmei almaya. Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitnoram v'yitnaseh. V'it hadar, v'it halev, v'it halal, shemei dekudesha, b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'irshirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'elma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. You may be seated. And as we prepare for the conclusion of our service, I will remind you we will gather together in the lobby for Kiddush and Motzi, and an opportunity to get to know. Well, we know each other. Some of us are new. We get to know new folks. We get to say hello and enjoy Oneg Shabbat together. And as we prepare for that, I'd like to offer the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly benediction. As I offer you this blessing, I'll ask that you please offer it back to me as well. I can use all the blessings I can get. Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'chunecha. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God turn toward you and grant you peace. Ken yehi ratzon. May this be God's will. And together we say, Amen. Let us now turn to page 625 and end our time in prayer together with Adon Olam. And my notes say Adon Olam with Tov. You can figure out what that means as we go. You'll find it on page 625.
Sarah,
Thank you, Hansamir. Thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.